And we are live. Welcome to the Political Orphans. My name is Nico Lagan, and I am your in-house conservative. Right there somewhere is our token lefty, Rob. And today we got somebody special for you. Jason D is with us. And we're gonna review the news from a perspective of left and right, because we want to prove to you that we are capable of getting along even if we don't agree. Because you know what? Common sense has no political affiliation. What's going on, guys?
Here, here. What's happening, brother?
What's good? Nico Lagan. What's up, my man?
Laga. Man, I'm
The
happy to
man,
see you guys.
again, like we said before the podcast, the man with the best head in the business. That
It's a great head, right?
Silhouette worthy, man.
Yeah.
You know?
I,
Yeah. Thanks
I'm
for
a
having me on
lucky
today,
bastard.
guys.
No,
Yesterday,
it's great.
and I had to get the hell out of Mammoth. So,
Yeah, what happened?
my family was up there skiing. I don't. I'm just there to do what good men do: lift things up and put them down for the wife and kid.
Yeah.
And I'm on the internet. They're skiing, and then they said there
That's
was
such a white sport.
yeah. You need to apologize to hockey players, but
But, hold on. You mean I need to apologize to the hockey player that's black? Because there's what,
There's
like
a couple.
one?
Like two.
It ain't football. Hockey ain't football, bro.
but how strong is the black man that he's actually not like middle of the pack? He's like really, really good. Like right, golf, you only had one black guy, and he was like he's in the GOAT conversation.
It is funny, eh? Like same as hockey. Like
hockey rinks, man. Let me tell you something. White people are done, baby.
Like off the top of my head,
if
any black hockey player think of, like Jerome McGinley, Xander, I think his name is. I forget, but they're all stars. There's no one who's just like a journeyman player that's not really.
most of them are genetic freaks. Now imagine if black people learn how to swim.
You ever see the movie? You got to see the movie Pride. It's Terrence Howard and the late Bernie Mac. They started a swim team, an all-black swim team that was supposed to be like this community thing.
Yeah.
But like Terrence Howard was like what you would call a real coach. So he like coached them up. Next thing you know, they're in this regional like championship, and it's this all-black swim team. And it's based on a true story. It's called, very easy name to remember, people. People watching, it's called Pride. Bernie Mac, of course, is naturally funny.
Is Bernie Mac.
So R.I.P. But he was in that movie, and Terrence Howard was elite.
I like Terrence. I like Terrence too.
Hustle and Flow, baby.
Hustle and Flow, that by far the best movie he's ever made. That one catches me in the heart. I'm such a rap fan. Like I grew up on the Wu-Tang, the Mobb Deep, the Nas, and seeing that movie was awesome because he was rapping about something he knew. He wasn't like the guys of today that just makes up shit because they want to be popular.
Bitches
like
and money.
he lived in a really bad area. And I'm used to, like, this is what I'm used to hearing. I'm used to gangster rap.
He was literally a pimp. He was not. He wasn't. Right. Look, if you're not a pimp, you can't really. It's hard to. That's hard to duplicate or play. That's as far as playing things that you're not.
Yeah.
Do not play a pimp.
And he's a struggling pimp. He's not the pimp a la Snoop Dogg with the fancy outfit and the frou-frou. Like you're talking, hair's not done. He's sweating all over the place because he's fucking down south somewhere. I think he's in Louisiana or Mississippi, right?
Yeah. And Rob, he said a Nico line too. Somewhere at the end, he was talking to his girl, and he's like, "Hey, you my man. Well, you ain't a man. I mean, you's a woman, but you my man. You know what I mean?" He was a woman with a man. Nico.
But maybe that's why I like that movie, because he doesn't like women, right?
Yes, because Nico hates women, of course.
Like, who knows?
Just for our audience here, Nico does not hate women. That isn't this thing. We just bust his balls on it a little bit.
And neither does you guys, clear guys.
I hate women so much that I'm gonna say hi to Rob's mother. Hey, Jody.
Jody.
Hi.
She actually, she said she's gonna try to comment today. She was like, "Can I comment live?" I'm like, "Yeah, Mom, come on, jump on." She's like, "I'll say. What should I say?" I said, "Say hi to Nico. He'll love that." She's like, "Oh, yeah, that's what I'll do."
So, guys,
I don't know.
Before we get in too many rabbit holes, because goddamn, we're good at doing that.
Oh, fuck.
There's four things I wanted to talk about. One, RFK's nomination is moving forward. I know you both going to have an opinion on this. I wanted to talk about, I don't know if you guys saw it, but Disney is changing its tune on DEI. There's a lot of companies, I got a video about it, but there's a lot of companies that are changing their tune on this. And there's a video for the people like me that are conspiracy theorists, but Joe Rogan had a guy on his show yesterday. I don't know who he is. I should have looked it up, but the video was so good. Elon Musk posted it, so I kind of downloaded it. But I want you guys to see this, and maybe this will explain to the people out there that are not conspiracy theories where guys like me come from. Because the guy, the way he explains it is absolutely brilliant. And of course, because Jason is here, we're going to talk about Gaza. Like, I want to know, I know you've been watching what Trump has been saying, so I want to know what you think about this, because it's going to piss you off, and it makes for good TV, man. So,
well, you're coming out every Wednesday, so pretty much every time you come, there'll be some new outrage, I'm sure, to opine about.
What I got a lot of brain rage for all the other subject matters too. Let's go.
Yeah. That's what we're all about. Rage bait.
So let's talk about RFK. Like,
Sure.
the nomination, from what I was reading, the nomination has been pushed forward. He hasn't been, like, Tulsi Gabbard was confirmed. It's a done deal for her. But for RFK, it seems that it's still not there. And I was reading earlier that they're planning about doing like a 3 months test period. Like, it sounded very strange.
A probationary period. Yeah.
Is this is this a thing? Does this happen?
I don't remember ever hearing about this. Have you?
No.
I've never. No.
It's so fishy to
you don't
me.
need a probationary period. If Trump is the president, you're not doing your job. You're fired.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So I mean, I don't even know why they're arguing. I'm not even a Trump supporter, but he's the man that says you're fired. He's, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's like we were saying yesterday. I mean,
you want to play the clip? I didn't want. Nico had this fantastic flag going.
yeah.
No. There's no clip. It's just, this is one of those subjects that we don't need a clip. We all feel strongly about. The reason I knew we needed to talk about this is because no matter who you're sitting on, what side of the aisle you're sitting on, if you're a healthy person, you like RFK. Now, do I agree with everything that he says? No, because he's too vax focused, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. But having a guy in his 70s with a six-pack that's able to do pull-ups, and then you look at the state of affairs that you see in the US, where 42% of Americans are obese and 30% or more are overweight. So less than 26%, give or take, are in respectable shape. So we're not saying they're hitting the gym like I do every day and weighing their foods and fasting. No, just like they're not, they look like what human beings used to look 40 years ago. But having a guy like him that shows
In other
up,
words, they're not like Nico. They're mere mortals, not like Nico.
You got it, bruh.
I mean,
you got it, exactly.
We can't compete. Me and Jason, we're
mortals
too, right?
Life, dude.
But the point is that we're going from a health secretary that looks like a guy that should be health secretary, not just like a guy that looks like he's a woman in, what was it? The secretary. It's like the secretary to the health secretary.
Rachel Levine.
Was
we're talking about?
Was a dude in a dress.
Mm-hmm.
So you're trying to tell me that this is the picture of health? Like, are you fucking kidding me? It's just very interesting to see RFK, a guy that's in shape, that seems to talk the talk, that seems to walk the walk, that is a lifelong Democrat, that is ready to go and work for a Republican that most people absolutely hate on the left, but he's trying to do something right. At least from my perspective, he's trying to do something that is legit. He seems to care, because let's agree here. He don't need to do this. He doesn't need to do this. Trump doesn't need to do this. Elon Musk doesn't need to do what they're doing. So, I was talking about that with my wife this morning, and I'm going to leave it on that. But it's either that those guys like RFK, guys like Trump, guys like Elon Musk, it's two options. They either have they really mean well and they want to help their country, or they're so fucking evil that losing money doesn't matter to them. This is the two options that I see with those three guys. But I want to believe that they have the best. They have America's best interests. Time will say what it is. But what do you guys think about RFK's nomination being put on like a fucking 3 months probation, like he's a child or a teenager for his first job?
What do they want to? What is the probationary period? Are they like, if you don't deny any vaccines in 3 months, we'll make it permanent? Like, what are they? We all know his positions. I mean, either confirm them or not. I would say I'm not anti-vax. However, I think people should be allowed to make their own decisions about vaccines for sure, just like any other thing that they put into their body. I'm vaxxed. My kids are vaxxed for the most part. But I do not think it should necessarily be political. Certainly not the way it has been. And at the end of the day, we've heard it many, many times the last couple of years. Elections have consequences. Trump won. He gets to pick his people, and how me and Nico talked about this the other day. This is how leadership works. If they fuck up, it's going to come up on Trump. I mean, that leaders take the credit for when things go good, even if they don't deserve it, and they take the blame when things go bad, even if they don't deserve it. I mean, that's just how it works. So I don't really see the point in the hand wringing. At the end of the day, even if they don't approve him, do you really think you're going to like the next guy that Trump picks? Like that, this is how it goes. If you're a liberal or a Dem, you're not going to like anybody. So, I mean, in my opinion, give the guy a chance. I've done this thing since Trump won where I don't really listen. I basically just put a blank slate on all of these sort of controversial characters. I don't listen to what the media tells me about RFK or Elon Musk. And I'm just assessing what I see. And so far, he said that he personally is not, he's obviously not pro-vax, but I believe he has said he's not going to put that into his work. Like he's not going to try to make it so that Americans who want vaccines can't get them. As far as I'm concerned, that's the only concern I would have. As long as he's made that clear, then, I mean, from what I've seen him, I kind of like the guy.
And before you go, man, my phone is going crazy. He has been confirmed. He just did. Senate literally 5 minutes ago just confirmed him as Trump's health secretary. So, well, there you go. I don't.
Oh, thank God.
Do we even need an actual answer from Jason outside of what you're doing right now? Because it seems you're ready to suck that penis.
Yeah. What's your take on it? Because just for the audience, Jason, you're a lefty traditionally. But however,
so
I would say
not only does Nico have the best head in the business, but timing is everything. And as usual, this man's timing is impeccable because him bearing that news in the timely manner sets the stage for what I'm about to say right now. There is good in the world. Thank God. There's good in the world. There are people that understand something. All right. Now listen, I'm going to use 60 seconds here because I can spend the whole time talking about vaccines that some people call an experimental gene therapy. I'm not going to get into that, right? But I will get into
this. Is just our opinion. This show is just for
YouTube. Oh, YouTube vaccines for YouTube purposes. Vaccines are safe and effective. Okay, even though the WHO itself disagrees with that, YouTube and CDC and the WHO are getting their stuff together as we speak.
Yay, right? WAF.
So you have a guy who's spent his career fighting for our general health, right? He's an environmental lawyer that got them, when he wanted to get the mercury out of fish, right? Nobody called him anti-fish, right? So, and I think I'm going to need more than a minute, but I'll let this clock tick down.
Keep going, yeah.
Take your time, man.
No, because before I go further, I think people need to understand the distinction between what anti-vax is and what anti-mandate is. Because in this political climate, if you're against all vaccines, you're anti-vax. In this political climate, if you're fully vaccinated and you trust every vaccine except the COVID vaccine, you're anti-vax. In this political climate, if you're not anti-vax, but you're pro-vax but anti-mandate, then you're considered anti-vax. So we have one party, we know who they are, right? That lumped everybody into the same category to politically shame people, and in the meantime, laughing their asses off is Big Pharma. It's gotten so bad that at RFK's hearing, Elizabeth Warren said, if you are nominated, if you are confirmed, do you promise not to go after Big Pharma? That woman asked that at the hearing, and RFK in his voice, I can't promise to not go after. I can't promise not just to Big Pharma. It's not gonna happen. All right. So I will say three things about RFK. One, he spent his entire life looking after our general health. And anyone that wants to get stuff out of ketchup that Americans have that Europeans don't have, I'm for it. If he wants to get stuff out of cereal, or at least have he could have warning labels on these cereals and tell the truth about cereals, and us as Americans, it's our right to take it, right? I'm an American. It's my right to be stupid. Listen,
guys, we don't want a nanny state telling us what we can
is
and
not
can't
only
do.
bliss, it's constitutional. All right, I'm an American. I have the right to be wrong. Second, what you say to the media, or what the media says, and what you say under oath are two different things. This man has dragged people to court and drew the line in the Senate and said, I dare you, motherfuckers. Say what you said to the media. Say it in court in front of a judge sworn in. They're not going to say it, right? Anyone that's interested in their rabbit hole, if you believe it's a rabbit hole, read the real Anthony Fauci, right? He actually asked for, he said, why are vaccines not being tested the same way other medications are, right? And I'll stop there, because for YouTube purposes, we love vaccines. And if you're not on your 9th booster right now, you're a fucking
anti-American.
Yeah, you need to just move out of the country.
You're
right?
commie. Yeah.
But that was the second thing I wanted to say. What you say under oath are two different things, because when someone asks you and they strap you to that chair, and if you lie, judges, you're going to go to jail for a long time, because judges hate that. The third thing, he never let his personal feelings and his how he guides his private life dictate in some authoritarian manner what everybody should do, right?
Yeah.
And I find it bizarre that nobody wants to use other medical arguments from other countries, like the United Kingdom. Their ketchup is different from ours. Their food is garbage, but their ketchup doesn't have that stuff that our ketchup has, right? Their cereal doesn't have the thing ours do. In fact, since we were on the vaccine, they actually said you're not allowed to get a booster unless it's by prescription, and it's for ages 59 and over. So it's not like follow the science, right? Because you have scientists saying different things. The World Health Organization itself said that last year's cocktail for this year's mutation, and I quote, is not sustainable or appropriate. So Google search WHO report January 15th, 2022, right? That wasn't even last year. That wasn't even this year. That was 3 years ago. So there is a God. This man is in charge of our health, and big pharma, you should be afraid. Do you know why? And that was my last point. This is not a war on people's health. This is a war against big pharma, because to big pharma, there's no profit in the cure. There's profit in the treatment. All right. Ozempic, right? The weight loss pill. Yeah. You got to take it for a lot. You got to keep taking it. Otherwise,
it comes right back.
We should actually talk about this at one point, bro. Because there's studies that are coming out on Ozempic, how it's depleting women's calcium. Exactly. It's destroying their bone density.
Never a free lunch. There's never.
No, but what they were saying is that most of the weight that you're losing is either muscle weight, like good weight, and calcium weight, like your bone weight. So it's not even that it attacks your fat per se. It literally removes everything. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. But you're absolutely right. There's no free lunch. But one thing I just saw this as I was scrolling on next. Hold on.
All of the Kennedys that are against him, you can fuck off, because the two Kennedys that actually support him got shot.
And this is how Trump is going to welcome the news. I just found that picture. This is how his confirmation is going to get celebrated. McDonald's and Wendy's for everyone. Do you remember this?
Yes. The nicest bread ever. RFK, I'm going to grab him by the back of the head and make him take a big munch. I'm going to take a munch.
Jason, I was going to say with
RFK.
One thing that you had said is about his personal views. People forget that Joe Biden is against abortion. He's pro-life, right? And no one had an issue with that, because he said, I'm not going to let my personal beliefs interfere with my work. And everybody was perfectly fine with that.
That's right. It's
but when
RFK,
when RFK says, I'm not going to do that, they refuse to accept that he has the ability to leave his work at home. Meanwhile, the guy, Rachel Levine, we were talking about before, that man, he was behind the scenes making a very strong pressure on WPATH and other trans organizations to remove any age limit for gender affirming care. So this guy is directly harming the health of Americans. Meanwhile, people are freaking out over about RFK, who has said, I'm not going to put my personal opinions into my work. And again, just like so many things on the left,
and that's his pattern. People need to look at his past. That's his pattern. He has a pattern of keeping it copacetic. And I can't believe. And they listen, just by consensus, how many of us thought that he was going to be confirmed? You did? I did too.
Oh, yeah.
I had an inside
source
that said it was going to happen. But consider this: he ran for president, right? They refused to have a primary, right? They voted him. They sued him off the ballot in the state of New York and 3 other states because they're like, no, he's not, a candidate. He's not really from New York and this and that. And then at the same time, for Michigan and Wisconsin, they sued to keep him on the ballot. So it wasn't like a moral thing. It was a strategic thing because they weren't thinking about the people of America. They weren't thinking about their values. They weren't thinking about their morals. To them, it was about winning and losing. Yeah. And the Democratic Party didn't even have a democratic process. When you're voting people, you're suing our American right, one vote, one person. You're taking choices away from people who at the time was polling at 23%.
But look at this. I made a video about this because that's where you seem to be going with this. But people right now are complaining about RFK. People are complaining about Elon Musk not being elected. I'm like, hey, fuckers, I don't remember elected any of those guys either.
Yeah.
So like, can we stop with this? Like, can we stop? Because there's no merit to not having RFK. There's nothing that people can say that will make him wrong for the job. They just don't like what he stands for. They just don't like that he's going to put it back on people's face. Because as you said earlier, man, I had a guy called Dr. Andy Kaufman. I don't know if you know that guy, Jason, but so I had him on my podcast this week. I just posted I'm good. We're going to have it on this show. Like, we already spoke about it, just a matter of putting it together. But he's one of those, like this morning, he was talking about this. And I'm like, you know what, Doc, it's a hard pill accountability is a hard pill to swallow. That's the problem with a guy like RFK, right? He's not going to say that he's going to blame Big Pharma, and he's going to blame the people to say, you want to get in better health? Guess what? Stop eating that shit.
Right.
Start exercising.
And let this be a lesson to everybody listening. When somebody spends more time attacking the person instead of the argument, it means that they don't have a rebuttal to said argument. We're talking about vaccines. Why don't we examine the situation? Why are vaccines the only drug right now that is liability proof? That was passed in the legislature, by the way, by a Kennedy. The other Kennedys were supposed to have more morals. Well, that candidate helped co-write and co-sponsor that bill in 1982 to make sure that vaccines are judgment proof. So, but thank God that you can sue for false advertisement. So if you get hurt by the vaccine, you can't.
Oh, because they're advertising it's risk-free, right?
Advertising saying that if you get the then you won't get the right. That's false advertisement. That's a lie. Yeah. So
we'll see what happens. But this is
there's a God.
This is just, I'm just happy. I'm just happy to see that he got confirmed as we spoke, actually, as we were on the podcast.
Still a Democrat, by the way. He just wants to do the right thing, And Trump, let me tell you something. Trump, I want to say something cool about Trump, and this is very rare. Trump, right now, for everyone that thinks he goes after his political adversaries, right? RFK ran against him, and he's on his staff. Tulsi Gabbard, the other reason there's a God, right? Tulsi Gabbard called him a pimp and said he's pimping out our soldiers to the Saudis, right? Yep. His own vice president called him Hitler. And all 3 people are on his cabinet.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
And everybody's like, oh, Jason's turning Trump or no. I'm like, guys, just call balls and strikes.
Yeah.
There's enough bad things about Trump that are actually true. Let's show an ounce of integrity and stop making up things that aren't true. It's going to be a long 4 years. And speaking of health, you guys
Are you seeing what's on the screen?
Yes.
This is Tulsi Gabbard. I love the fact that she's a gun owner. She's a gun shooter. She's actually trained, but she has also been confirmed. And by the look of it, she looks like a Republican, but she's a fucking Democrat too.
And they call her an opportunist. You know what?
Democrat Congresswoman.
I say they're right. She is an opportunist, but they're using opportunist in a negative light. You know why? Because the last time she tried to do the right thing for moral purposes, she got snubbed by her own party. She was the DNC vice chair in 2016, and she stepped down as vice chair to endorse Bernie Sanders because she thought it would be morally, let's just call inappropriate to be sitting on the DNC chair or vice chair and endorse a candidate, because you're not supposed to endorse a candidate if you sit on the chair, except Debbie Wasserman Schultz, of course. You know, she's a little phony.
Separate.
But
it's
this
different.
woman,
different
the last time she tried to do the right thing for moral reasons, she thought it was the right thing. Guess what? It's been hell for her ever since, and she thank God. A lot of Democrats. I mean, she didn't have to be a Republican, but she was part of that 30% exodus from the Democratic Party.
Well, let's agree that she's not neither is Trump. Trump's not a Republican.
No,
he would have never been able to run as a Democrat. And if you have only two choices, Republicans are closer to the way that he is, but he is definitely not a Republican.
Please, he got a Bible in his hand, but when you open up the book, it's like the houses that pop up. Little kids' days.
Like Shawshank Redemption, he's got a rock hammer in there.
My Alexandre dumbass.
Oh shit! Oh, that is awesome. That is such a great quote. I don't think that Dumas would approve of this. What do you mean? Dumas was black. Ooh.
Yeah, and
it's
and
shit.
the book was about a prison break. So
yeah.
File it as an educational tool, like Morgan Freeman said. So yeah.
So happily, I think we're all happy that he's.
It was the right thing to do.
Yeah, I agree, man.
Yeah, I mean, even if for me, it's just more like, I didn't see any reason to block him. No. There was no reason to do so. I'm not a rah RFK guy, but it's just they won, right? They won the election. They picked their guys. Let's judge them on how they do it.
Yeah, I mean, a guy who cares after our health. He wants to be the health secretary, right? We have an intelligence agency that's threatened by intelligence with Tulsi Gabbard. I mean, you're trying to find the best people for the job, and first time in like 20 years, we got people that are actually qualified, and everybody's like, well, what qualifies, him to do this? And I'm like, because the position is singular. Right? You can't put anything in your resume that was once the health secretary, right? It's not like a lawyer where you already come in having legal experience. Nico, when you run for president, everybody's like, "What's your experience?" I'm like, "There's nothing. I was president before on my resume. When you're running, it's the first time singular position."
Yeah,
but if you look at this is the reason why people were not. And you know what's interesting about this is, so these are the top 5 politicians that took money from Big Pharma: Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, Barack Obama, Clinton. The last one, the only Republican in the top 5 is Mitt Romney. And you know what? He's the only Republican that voted against RFK. Coincidence or not? You fucking tell me if this is a coincidence. You tell me that if he's the only Republican. Just putting it out there. Only Republican yet.
The real Mitt Romney, please stand up. You guys, YouTube search. Will the real Mitt Romney please stand up? And it's saying in the form of Eminem, will the real Slim Shady please stand up? Dum 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 dum. And someone like spliced the words in, and that's Mitt Romney. I'm Mitt Romney, the real Mitt Romney. Oh, by the way, in addition to kissing my ass, Mitt Romney, Mitch McConnell. If you can actually understand me, you could kiss my ass too. He was the only Republican that voted against Gabbard.
And just so you guys know,
is he even sentient anymore? But it looks like Weekend of Bernie's every time I see him.
He's around till 26.
Crazy.
He's around till 2026. And the first time I saw him freeze, he's in the middle of his speech, and I'm like, Mitch, what do you think of this? He's like, well, I think that
he just freezes, right?
30 seconds go by.
How can
And
that
I'm like,
guy?
are you
how can he
serious? Is
be
no one going to
a
come
US
get
senator?
him? It had to be like 30 seconds.
That must have felt like a lifetime in that moment. Holy fuck!
But
30
then
seconds.
it wasn't a one-off. It happened again. And then the third time, people were like, okay, no more questions. And I'm like, this is where I'm gonna call out Republicans. You're talking about Joe Biden's a vegetable and this and that, and you're correct. But what are you gonna do about this man who's
Yeah.
a senator who can confirm Supreme Court justices, who
Well,
can confirm who stood in the way of Tulsi Gabbard, for the intel position, who is around till 2026, right?
I don't know, but there's
Who's
you know,
that's if Biden's a vegetable, what's that? What do you
Yeah.
call that? What is
people people have been hating on me, especially on Instagram, because I posted the list of the Democrats that got a lot of money from big pharma, and people are like, yeah, but that Republicans are no. I know, and I agree. I don't give a fuck the colors that your flag is flying. If you took money from big pharma, if you pushed their bullshit, if you took money from USAID and you pocketed it, you need to be to reimburse it, and you need to be in fucking prison. I don't give a fuck that you're a Democrat or Republican. You deserve to be in fucking prison, plain and simple, because you have the trust of the people and you have access to information that we do not. You don't get to use that to be corrupt. You should be held at a higher standard than you and I, and pay the consequences if you're found guilty. So I'm very happy that Elon Musk is going after those fucking guys, because that is going to be fucking ugly.
Well, for Elon Musk, if he doesn't go after the Pentagon, which failed its 8th straight audit, he doesn't go after the military-industrial complex, then to me the guy's full of shit.
Do you think he's going to?
No, but you're sitting there in the media. Oh, this guy spent 70,000. This guy spent 5 million, and that sounds like a lot of money to us. But the military-industrial complex and the Pentagon,
Trillions.
their budget is trillions. So
it dwarfs it.
So if you just go after, I'll give you an example. If someone has 20 cookies, right, and billionaires have 18, and you give the middle class 2, and you tell the middle class, the poor people are coming after your 2 cookies, they're going to sit there and watch them fight over those 2 cookies, and they're going to be chilling with the 18. And that's and I don't support or oppose Elon Musk, because I don't even know what the hell he's talking about half the time. But if he has my full throated support, if he goes after them with the same energy, and who, by the way, finance him, right? It's going to be hard because they finance SpaceX.
Oh,
right?
yeah. They're financing SpaceX and Tesla.
The relationship between the government contracts and Elon Musk. So this could, Nico, this all looks nice now, but what look good to you ain't always good for you.
But it's interesting because this afternoon I'm making a different type of podcast where I'm going to be going deep in conspiracy theories. I got a buddy of mine that's a massive conspiracy theorist, and I asked him, I'm like, we should start a show, just go live. It's going to be something interesting. But I'm like, what do you want to talk about? It's like Elon Musk. That's the first one we're doing this afternoon. So we'll see how it goes. He'll be live here. But the thing is I understand technology, and Elon Musk scares the shit out of me.
He's so brilliant.
Because I don't know that he is, actually. And this is what my friend is going to be debating. Yeah. The thing is, that's not what worries me about him, because there's always going to be brilliant people like a Nikola Tesla, for example. That's probably the most impactful scientist of all time. But a guy like Elon Musk and his Neuralink scares the shit out of me. He wants to put implants in people's brains, and you can look the videos. I don't remember the name of the doctor, but she went on Joe Rogan years ago showing how they were able to put that inside animals' head as they were, like, when they were still a fetus, so that when they grow up, the implants are in their brains, and they're able to control them remotely.
Really?
It's fucked up, bro. When you open that door, it's fucked up. So it's just
that's an evolution from a Manchurian candidate.
Yeah, and not only that, but I don't know if you remember this, but a few years back, Elon Musk was one of the biggest proponents of putting a brake on AI development. Like 2018, 2017, he was a big proponent saying, hey guys, we need to be very fucking careful about this, because there's something called a singularity that can happen, and it's a matter of time before we create an AI that is self-aware. So this is dangerous, because you're talking about something that is a lot faster than you and I can even begin to comprehend. Yet he doesn't talk about this at all, and AI is everywhere. everywhere. It's integrated in every part.
Yeah.
But now the
He's
speech
talking
has
about it
disappeared.
on Rogan podcast.
That
Yeah.
scares me. But
Yeah.
that scares me. The fact that this conversation is not being had, and the fact that we're not exploring what Neuralink, like the ill effect of Neuralink, because you're opening up a door that is very fucking dangerous. Very fucking dangerous. So, we can go down that path more. We should do an episode on Elon Musk.
Oh, that's a
We should
show for
just-
sure. In and of
Yeah,
itself.
we should have one on a slow day. We'll do something on Elon Musk, but something that is more in Rob's wheelhouse, and I think it's going to give him a half boner when I put that video on. But hold on, sorry, because we're trying to be a family show. We're going to call it a half chub, a chubby. But give me 2 seconds. I found a video that. Oh shit! What's going on? There we go. I found an actual video of the companies, because right now, yesterday we were talking about the fact that companies like Google are changing their tune because, like, Trump is having those little wins, and like we learned this week that Google Maps have changed the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, and then Apple did the same thing on Apple Maps. So we were talking about how companies are changing their tune. Like, they're starting to say, hey, okay, hold on, there's a change that you can feel. There's a massive change going on in the US. Like, you can feel it, you can see it everywhere.
There's a vibe shift.
And
Absolutely
this video is pretty much aligned with this. So check this
I'm
out.
national correspondent Kayla Gaskins in Washington. The DEI rollbacks continue, with more companies doing away with diversity, equity, and inclusion requirements.
Goldman Sachs now no longer requiring companies they take public to have diverse board members.
One of whom must be a woman. A spokesperson saying the decision was the result of legal developments related to board diversity requirements.
Slashing a policy implemented in 2020. Disney also announcing changes this week to its DEI approach, shifting the diversity and inclusion performance metric for employees to focus more on business outcomes. PBS shutting down their DEI office Monday to comply with a Trump executive order ending DEI in federally supported organizations.
The company's director of DEI and senior vice president of DEI are leaving the company. The network CEO said PBS will remain a welcoming place, in their words, for everyone.
Since returning to the White House, Trump made rolling back DEI in the federal government a top priority.
We want the most competent people. We don't care what race they are.
Private companies following suit. Google, Amazon, McDonald's, Coors, and Pepsi among the dozens of companies rolling back or eliminating DEI. Meanwhile,
How great is that? And it even goes, like, I wanted to show this too. This is how it all started this morning. Look at this right here. They're basically saying that they're going to stop with that racist crap in front of their movies too. They started doing that. Like, they would have warning for people watching Disney movies. Oh, be careful. This is a racist movie. You might get triggered. You might get this. But how interesting that within the same week, Google seems to be falling into place. Apple seems to be falling in place. Now you have Disney that is, man, how long
Disney's
has...
like the...
It's the
patron saint of DEI. If Disney's making a change, like, there's a serious change underfoot. And I think it's we on the show, Nico, me and you, we talk all the time about this vibe shift that's occurring, and you see signs of it everywhere. Clearly this is more of it. It's interesting, like they said, what they gotten put in place 2020, 2021. So really, like, I mean, while what
a coincidence, huh?
The discourse around this has clearly been around for a while. It's really only a couple of years that the policies have been in place, and pretty quickly they're back out the door. So I mean, a couple things. A, I mean, yeah, public attitude has changed, but B, they don't work. They don't do the things that they're supposed to do, which is, the promise was, a more diverse board will make you more successful at business. And of course, that's just simply incorrect. Smart business people on your board is what will make you successful at business. Their skin color is utterly irrelevant. I mean, it is racist. quote unquote racist according to the left right now, the dogma of the left. And that's sort of what I'm really trying to push back as a lefty, is this idea that what I'm saying right now is racist, because it isn't. It's utterly absurd that we got to this point that I need to, as a lefty, need to defend, that you need to say, maybe we should just hire the smartest people, that you need to defend that statement, that's a quote unquote racist statement. Like, fuck off with that bullshit. People are done with it. If there was any merit to it whatsoever, the companies would have kept this. The fact is, they're probably excited. They were waiting for this vibe shift so they could get rid of this shit, because they know it's bullshit. They know it harms companies. They know it harms efficiency. They know it harms expertise. At the end of the day, nobody really gives a shit about the color of someone's skin. That stuff does not matter. If you want to make it important in your personal life, fill your boots. But this idea, this promise of diversity being some magical formula that as soon as you have diversity, and by the way, the diversity is a very specific kind of diversity, right? It's identity-based diversity. There's no diversity in opinion, no diversity of thought. None of that matters. It's just your superficial, immutable traits, your skin color, who you like to have sex with, as if that fucking matters. You know what I mean? Nobody gives a shit anymore. And, at the end of the day, obviously the people on the right have been pushing hard against this, but now there's enough, I think, sane, reasonable people on the left who are now saying, all right, enough of this shit. Let's try something else.
Don't you just love when I pass the puck to, like, I know I'm gonna rock him and just look, did you see this video? Go ahead, Rob. Just go for it.
No. I mean, that's basically, like, I got, I've got, like you said, it's in my wheelhouse. On the topics that are my wheelhouse, you could just wind me up and send me on my way, and I'll, come pick me up 20 miles down the road. But
but it was good. You made sense.
Jason, what's your take?
Glad you asked. I'd like to cite as a pretext that politics is the divisive politics is the one that starts this in the first place. So in this country, you have one person that find out what Trump thinks and then go completely the other way, right?
100%.
Find out what Obama thinks about healthcare and or Bernie Sanders thinks about Medicare for all, go completely the other way. So what happens is when they go too far, every now and then us, the American people, say, look, this is fun while it lasted, and now it's time to come home. Mm-hmm. All right. For example, transgender male athletes playing women's sports. They made that into a Democratic and Republican thing. But if you poll the people, anyone that has a daughter that's playing a sport is not cool with that. And as far as abortion's going, right? If you poll, almost everybody supports abortion until it actually has a like a central nervous system where they can feel pain, right? So everyone's kind of on board with that. And by the way, I don't mean to use other countries as a pretext, but almost every other country has this kind of this thing where we can function as mammals. Now, in regards to DEI, we have to ask ourselves, are Black people allowed to suck at their job? Because white people suck all the time at their jobs, okay? And I'm only using Black people because let's call this what it is, all right? In reality, statistically, the biggest recipients of DEI are white women. Mm-hmm. But the media is using, and especially Fox News is using this as a black dog whistle. Not Asian Americans bad at their job, not Eastern Europeans bad at their job, Black people. And that's where the fucking racism comes in. All right. That's one. Two, you see a white pilot that crashes. Nobody's thinking DEI. They're just thinking a white guy who sucks at his job. So if we as a society have decided that Black people are allowed to be bad at their job, get rid of DEI, because the name already, the three letters have been tainted forever because you associate DEI with Black pilots who never went to flight school, this unfounded thing, like a Black lawyer that never passed the bar, right? It's gone too far. I want to get rid of it because the letters were tainted by politics forever. So if you're happy, before we get all happy, just ask and answer yourself this question. Are Black people allowed to suck at their job without people shaking their heads and saying they're not surprised? I came out of a womb of a Black woman. All right. I grew up Flatbush Avenue. I'm very much Black. Okay. Even though I don't look like it, but the Simpsons don't either. They could be Black or white. But anyway, there's, and Nico, this is important. White people have a career. Black people have a responsibility. Because we're trained in our minds, and when we grow up, if something goes wrong, they're gonna look at us and go like, I'm not surprised. Yep. All right. There's always this element, and it's not always true. I get that. Sometimes you like for the three of us, we just want the best qualified person. I don't care. I don't care if you wear your tinfoil hat to the job. If that makes you do a better job, sure, just stay in the back. I just stay in the back. I ain't displaying you in front of my customers. But you guys have to understand, in order for Black and everybody to evolve, one, allow people to suck at their job and call them out. Right. Two, stop saying I don't see race. You do see race. We all see race. You look at my lighter skin, but my Black ethnicity, and we celebrate it. And if we have a day where we can tell white jokes, Black jokes, Puerto Rican jokes, and find a way where we can all laugh at those jokes together, then I feel we have arrived.
Yes, I agree.
And it's weird. I feel weird about this because common denominator, bottom line, I agree. And I support, I agree with both of you guys, but my path to the why is significantly different.
Okay.
Let's take this time to celebrate. Let's take this time to acknowledge, and let's stop assuming the worst. Every time the media has some Black guy out there doing normal white guy things.
I could not agree more.
White people suck at their job all the time. Ain't nobody saying, yep, surprise. We gotta get some more Puerto Ricans in his job. These white suck.
Yeah, that's right. Now, Jason, I have a question for you.
When they see a white person suck at their job.
I agree with you completely that, especially lately, it's out of hand, right? A plane goes down and, it was DEI. Now, do you not? Now, I see that as the reason people think that, some of them are just racist and just, use an excuse. But for the most part, I believe that it is DEI in place that causes them to go there. If you did not have DEI, I don't think anybody would go there. I think most people understand that Black people probably have a harder time sort of establishing themselves in certain jobs. And I think without DEI, if you see a Black person, you might be, I would be like, wow, they must have worked their ass off to get there. Whereas, now I don't necessarily think one way or the other, but like now with DEI, that's what it seems like. It's hurting the people it's supposed to help. I don't see it as beneficial to Black people.
And that's why DEI should have been a very temporary thing.
Yes.
I think DEI, look, Nico is, you guys, and this is one of the things I admire about Nico, and I'm a little gay for him. Nico is a meritocracy driven guy.
Yeah.
If you're in his circle, you deserve to be. Right? If you're working with Nico, he sees value in you. And if Nico hires you, or if Nico wants to partner with you, you deserve to. But DEI, the reason why DEI was there is because if we're having a stair running contest, right? If I run 44 stairs, Nico does 84, you do 50, that's meritocracy. But getting in the building to run the stairs is not.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely where DEI came into play. And then when it came into play, let it be good, let it be flawed. And when it's time to get rid of it, when we've arrived at least close enough to a certain point, and I think it's time to get rid of it, because the three letters, again, for political purposes, has been tainted forever. It's not helping Black people. It's not helping. It's only benefited white women. And they're the ones that should be crying about this shit. But I speak for a lot of Black people where they're just tired of the dog whistles.
Yeah, I agree completely. And I agree with you. I think the very first affirmative actions, about the 60s or 70s, I think is when it started to come in. That was probably necessary because it was clear that Black people genuinely were being discriminated against in housing, in the job market. But yeah, like with almost all progressive movements, and this is, I think, that's missing from a lot of them. There's no concept. There's no way to ask yourself, have we gone far enough? Even asking yourself the question is deemed to be racist, sexist, homophobic, what have you. And I think, with the left, we need to build that into ourselves. We need to understand that all movements, even ones that are necessary. Me and Nico have talked, a lot of the movements that are traditionally progressive, women's rights, gay rights, racial justice, civil rights, that kind of thing, were absolutely necessary. And I'm not even saying that it's time to stop them all now. It's more like we have to be aware that there is an end point, there is a sweet spot, and just to be open to that. And then the discourse within the left should be, okay, where are we right now with each
And it's time to come home.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
I already know I'm talking to two racists. First of all, Nico works out, so he's a racist. So I'm not gonna. So we can skip. he works out a lot. He works out 3 times a day.
Well, that's white supremacy right there, right?
You have questions all the time. You're definitely a racist.
Oh shit, yeah.
So,
You don't just mindlessly accept.
I already got my little woke ass mind is surrounded by 2 racist dudes. Nico, before you go, can I tell a joke? Chris Rock said, "I live in Alpine, New Jersey." Sorry,
a quick joke.
He said, "I live in Alpine, New Jersey," and he said he has 4 black people in his neighborhood: Jay-Z, or Eddie Murphy, Mary J. Blige, and himself. And he said the white guy that lives next to him is a dentist. He's not in all the dental journals. He's not like this famous guy.
A dentist, a white dentist.
Dentist.
Yeah.
You know what a black dentist has to do to live in his neighborhood? He has to dent teeth. I'll land with that.
All I was going to say is that I think it's normal that it gets to the point that we're at right now. If you look at feminism, if you look at the LGBTQ, if you look at Free Palestine, you look at all those movements, and they're all the same people participating in every single one of them, and they have nothing else to do. So you need adults in the place or in the house to just come back and say, okay, can we stop with this noise now? You have all the rights that you started fighting for. Now you're just fighting because you got nothing else to do. You made that your life purpose, and now you don't have a purpose anymore. So you're just going more extreme and more extreme. You're finding reasons to be offended. Absolutely. And just like Dr. Peterson said a long time ago, one of the biggest problems we face today in society is the fact that our youth especially has nothing else to do. They have too much time on their hands, not enough purpose. So they're going to try to find places where they belong. In all the type of social justice that we've seen over the past 10 years, it seems like, is all going down that road. So it's just, I think it was going to happen. At one point, people were going to push it too far, and then it needs to bring back to the middle. Like, it's always like that. Politics is always like that. It's going to swing to the left. It's going to swing too far. People are going to swing it back to the right. We just need to be careful to find a middle somewhere that makes sense. But just like this morning, I posted about this. There's 2 teens that are going to sue Trump, or mostly the government, because of the new policy that he put in place because of his executive order, where boys cannot compete with women anymore. Like, boys can't compete with teenagers. And my answer to this is simple. I'm like, okay, you know what? How about, instead of blaming people like the government for blocking this, for actually wanting to protect women, how about we put the real criminals behind bars? How about we start looking at the parents that have trans kids, that are enabling their trans kids, instead of giving them the help that they deserve? Because this is a mental illness that needs to be addressed and not encouraged. So how about we look at them and say, you know what, that's as worse as beating your child, because you're creating damage that will never go away. That kid will have to struggle with this shit its whole life. So that is child abuse. How about we go against the lawyers that are taking advantage of those confused kids and actually go after them for malpractice or malfeasance, as they call it? How about we put the real criminal in jail? Because it ain't the kids. The kids are not the problem. And a guy like Trump, like him or not, what he did is absolutely fucking right. Leave boys and men outside of women's sport. And if you don't agree with that, check the mirror, because there is a mental illness. You will not tell an anorexic girl, oh, you know what, I agree with you, you should stop eating, you're too fat. Or you're not going to look at a bulimic and say, you know what, it's totally normal for you to throw up after all of your meals, you should eat more. You're not. Why the fuck do we enable them? So this is normal. It just needed to stop. An adult needed to come in and say, fuck this noise, and look at what's happening already. DEI policies are getting pulled out everywhere. And then the whole trans crap is going to disappear. You're
Most
not going to
trans
hear
people
about it
are
anymore, right?
victims of transgender ideology.
100%,
Most
100%.
people are a victim of the idea, and then people on the left, like me, who are fighting against it. That's what we're fighting against. It isn't trans people. It is these people
Yep.
are victims of the ideology that is harming them.
Irreversible Damage by Abigail Schreier. I cannot repeat this book enough.
That
That
is
book
a
opened my
brilliant,
eyes.
very good book.
That book opened my eyes that it is not men with beards and dresses that are trying to enter women's bathroom that are the problem.
It's social outsiders, the weirdos, the kids who were goth 20 years ago
Yep.
and would have outgrown it, and now they're social misfits, women, girls who don't feel like they don't belong, they don't have a community, and now all of a sudden they found one. Now they're love bombed. Now they
want to belong.
Now they matter. They just want to belong, and these are the people that they're saying you got to cut your breasts off if you want to be part of this group. You got to take testosterone. And it's funny, right? Because they never push that on the men. The men who identify as female, they can keep their penis, leave it, whatever. They're still women. But the females, they
if
need
I
to
ever
go.
wind up in jail, I'm definitely identifying as.
Oh fuck yeah!
Tell you
Is this a thing that even could happen? Yeah, of course. I'm a woman.
I think
I'm a
Nico,
woman.
It's like the video I showed you. No, but the video I tagged you in yesterday where you had a trans woman, it's a dude with a penis, explaining how I'm sorry if I can't get it fully hard anymore because it's all the estrogen that I'm taking. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me, bro? Like
men?
what? Like, oh, yeah, exactly.
Wrong, guys.
I'm sorry. It's not you if my ejaculate doesn't look normal, that it's almost like water because it's the estrogen that I'm taking. Hey, okay, can we fucking stop this noise now?
Yeah.
Now,
I think Nico was talking more in terms of children, looking out for our children, right?
But this is what it is.
Psychological growth.
But if you look at the trans problem, it is not a man problem. It's a young woman, young teenagers, young kids. There are female children that are the most at risk of believing this shit, because think about it this way: they're going through a very transformative, and I can only speak to it. I have no fucking clue what I'm talking about. I've never experienced it. But the point in the matter is, and that's why Abigail Schreier's book is so brilliant, because she talks about this. They're literally preying on little girls that are going through the biggest change in their lives. They have all those hormones that are actually making them a woman, making them capable of bearing life. And instead of telling them that it's normal, instead of telling them that, you know what, you feel weird, no fucking shit, you feel weird, your body is changing forever. They're like, no, you don't need to go through this. Here's medication, because you shouldn't have to suffer. You should not ever have to go through this. So here's medication, take testosterone, cut your titties off, and we'll make you sterile. That is basically what's happening. So we need to stop enabling them.
Your most authentic self.
Whatever happened to just giving people a minute? Right?
No, right?
Let's go politically naked, and let's just talk about a general thing. As parents, I'm a parent. You're about to be a parent, right? We decide all the time what our kids like. They want to do something, or they want to be something, and we as parents decide all the time they're too young to make that decision. They're too young to make that distinction, right? I don't want my kid to join the military. I'm a Gulf War vet, and I don't want her to do what I'm doing. But if she wants to, she turns 18, I will do a parental informed consent thing, and she can take it or leave it, right? We're not even allowed to drink until we're 21 years old, because we as a country decided that kids' brains or development under alcohol consumption are not responsible drivers. So we don't make these kids make distinctions where the result can change their life forever. So take that and multiply it by 15, and we have this transgender issue with teenagers and whatever, and this and that. And all I'm saying is be consistent. Yeah. If your kid wants to be a guy, whatever, say, hey, look, let's have that conversation when you turn. At least let's meet in the middle here. Have that conversation when you turn 18. Because I guarantee you this, when they turn 18, they might feel a different way, because what people are not talking about are the 33% or 16 to 33% detransitioners.
Absolutely. And something like 80% of trans kids.
Let's stop it here. Let's stop the conversation, because we can go down that path. I think we all extremely feel strongly about this. So I wanted to play one more video. I wanted to, because at the end of the day, this is a bit what Rob and I started this show on, is to kind of show the 80% we agree with, debate the 20 that we don't, And I just saw this video of Joe Rogan with his guest. It's about 4 minutes long. I'm not going to interrupt it. Just
Mike Pence.
I want guys like you to listen to this and tell me what you think. What are, like, I'll give you a few minutes afterwards, but I'm really curious to see what you guys think, because it's one of the best videos I've seen in a while when it comes to conspiracy theories.
This is the darkest of conspiracy theories. The darkest of conspiracy theories was that the leak was intentional. The darkest of conspiracy theories is that this was planned. They knew this is going to be a financial windfall. It is the greatest transfer of wealth in the history of the United States by far, from the working class to the elite. It's like $3+ trillion or something crazy like that.
Yep.
We've already established that it was created in a lab. We already established that USAID funded it. We already established that Fauci et al. Lied about gain-of-function research, what they were doing. The worst theory possible is that this was released on purpose.
Yeah, that would be the worst case scenario. Yeah.
Have you ever danced that one around your head? Because that's where we know they're willing to do horrible, evil shit. But, like, is there a ceiling on that?
Even now to this day, having spent so much of my life in it, I try to just pursue the leads that I have and then try to let the conclusions come to me. Certainly the fact that they funded the capacity to do this, they worked directly with all the networks that were both doing it and censoring it, puts you pretty much as, you know, they created it and they covered up at least the leak. In terms of the intentionality for doing it, that is a really dark scenario. You know, there are a lot of things in American history that have that same, you know, Miha-Liha distinction. You know, did they make it happen, or did they let it happen? Did they let it happen, or did they make it happen? And both of them are major scandals that completely change the legitimacy and credibility of policy changes in response to the crisis, for example. Like, you know, take something like Pearl Harbor, right? It's been declassified now. The McCollum memo, the 8 action plan. Are you familiar with this?
Yes.
Yeah. You know, and this was, you know, written before the bombing, and it was 8 ways to get Japan to attack us, because, you know, we don't have diplomatic cover to declare war on them. But if we get them to attack us, and we can then spiral that into a war predicate. I mean, they're the same thing, for example, with the Northwoods memo, with, you know, pretext to war with Cuba, and cooking up all these, you know, hijacking our own planes, sinking our own ships, doing, you know, riots on the streets of Miami, and then saying that it was the Cuban government behind it. Same thing with Vietnam, Gulf of Tonkin. You know, same thing with with the weapons of mass destruction predicate for invading Iraq. Did we know that were we duped, and the crime was negligence for letting our national security state believe the New York Times reporting on chemical and biological and weapons of mass destruction in Iraq? Or did we make that happen? Was that something that we knew was not true based on our own intelligence, but because there was a useful thing there? And, you know, a lot of people have the same thoughts about issues around 9/11 and any number of crisis events. And I suppose I have my own thoughts on it. They're not fully settled. And because they are beyond the evidence I currently have, I stay in the zone of, this is what they did to create it. This is what they did to cover it up. Here are the stars in the sky. Draw your own constellation from there.
I like it. I like it. Yeah. I guess I should go first on this one. And I
You go first. I'll jump in after.
look, I think it's okay to feel a certain way, particularly if in American history dictates that there's a chronological pattern for this, right? As I said in the beginning of the podcast or before the podcast, this is like O.J. Simpson getting caught with another dead white girl, and O.J. looking at you saying, I know what you're thinking.
I know what you're thinking. I know what you're
Chris Rock
thinking.
said that, and I believe him. So if you look at all of the things he's talking about, the Gulf of Tonkin was basically accusing the Vietnamese firing first, and it turns out it never happened, right?
Mhm.
Operation Northwoods is even creepier because Operation Northwoods was signed by both Joint Chiefs. So Operation Northwoods, what he's talking about is we're going to have Americans dress up in Cuban outfits, commit acts of terrorism, maybe even fly some planes into some buildings, and then use that as an excuse to go to war and take out Castro. And that operation was signed by both Joint Chiefs. And McNamara, who was John F. Kennedy's right-hand guy, said, "Did you see this? Don't if someone comes up to you and says, 'Can you sign this?' I need you to look at this. Don't be like, 'What was that?'" And they're like, "Oh, nothing."
The terms of service. Nobody reads them, Mr. President. You just sign.
Because John F. Kennedy said, "You guys are nuts. I'm not signing this." Right? And look what happened to him, of course. But weapons of mass destruction. Now we can get into who's profiting from it. Dick Cheney, right? The human stain on the underwear of life, was on the board of Halliburton. The government arranged a no-compete contract for military parts, for tank parts, for tools, for hammers. So everything that we did tool-wise or structural-wise was financed by Halliburton, where they made $27 billion a month. For the combination of
how much?
Afghanistan billion a month, or we spent, but a chunk of that went to Halliburton and Dick Cheney,
a large chunk,
right? So I don't even think that was Bush. I don't think Bush was smart enough to know what was going on, but but my point is,
useful idiot.
I don't think it's really, really hard to splurt out conspiracies without evidence, because some conspiracies do have evidence and some don't. But if someone does say that, I'll measure it if it makes sense or not. But their constitutional right to speak on something about a country that has a chronological pattern of doing that, have at it.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, like,
why should we believe in that?
I'm definitely, I guess, the non-conspiracy theorist of the group, but I'm also not, like, I'm familiar enough with the history of the world, and especially the United States, that there's very few things that I will just dismiss out of hand. What they discuss there, I don't even consider that conspiratorial or conspiracy theory thinking, just by the way it was framed. The way he discussed it is what makes the difference. I'll have that conversation all day, right? What I as someone who is not conspiratorial, what I don't like is when it's framed as like, this is the way it is, and you're a fucking idiot if you're so naive, you're so gullible if you don't see it. Meanwhile, this guy's done 9,000 hours worth of deep diving in, so of course people are not going to necessarily see it the same way. I would say naturally skeptical against the sort of I assume what they're getting at is sort of the depopulation conspiracy. I don't see who benefits from it. However, I'm certainly open to being explained. Like, I know there are evil people in the world. I know there are people with a lot of power who will do things like this. So I guess I would say I'm open to it. Certainly a lot of the other things about COVID that were conspiracies have been proven clearly correct. Like you said, we know it's made in the lab now, and that was a conspiracy theory a couple of years back. At this point, if somebody just dismisses it because the media says it's a conspiracy theory, in my opinion, you're just not informed enough, or not, you don't have the intellect capable of having this conversation. That said, the claims are made there. You have to have some evidence. What I would just say is, I will listen to that evidence if someone presents it. But I mean, I like the way he did it. I like the way he said he clearly said this isn't true. He's not making the claim. He is, he's asking the question. And for me, I'd want to know specifically who leaked it. Who is the? I personally believe it was probably a confluence of a series of unfortunate events, you may call it. But maybe I just want to believe the good of people. Maybe I'm just naive.
But that's why the video was brilliant, because you had a Joe Rogan that's trying to fish him into going all out, going full down rabbit hole, and the guy's like, no, refused.
I'll have that conversation all day. I don't consider that conspiratorial, the way he did that.
Which is why I think that video is so good, because you cannot argue what he said. I could have named like MK Ultra, for example. Yep. If you're not familiar, anybody that's listening to this, if you do not know what MK Ultra is, Google it. This has been declassified. It's evil what they did to Canadians, actually, the US government teamed up with universities in Montreal to test LSD on the population without telling them. And as somebody that has done LSD in the past, that has done too much and had a bad trip, that was scarred for it by, I was scarred by it for years. I cannot imagine being, no, but man, I do psychedelics. We can talk about that one day.
Yeah, that'll be so.
The guy's name is Mike Bentz.
Yeah.
I've heard that name.
He's a former Department of State official.
There you go.
So he was neck deep in that. But go ahead.
It's just all I want. The only reason I wanted to show this is that, very well said. He did not go down a rabbit hole. Yep. He just said that has happened in the past. That has been declassified. You can verify this information. Is it that hard for me to believe that this is what's happening? No, but I don't have any proof. And what he said is it just a bunch of people that took advantage of a bad situation? Or is it a bunch of bad people that created the bad situation in order to take advantage of it? No matter what it is, it's bad. No matter, one is worse than the other, obviously, but both are bad. And can you really disagree that people have taken advantage of this? No, you can't.
Well, you can't dismiss any of this out of hand. You just can't. Like,
when you see who stands the prophet, then you know who
exactly.
To believe. Then you know who to believe.
I was just wanted to say, because Rob, you said something where, it's one thing to question. It's one thing to not want to see it. And this is the problem that I see with a lot of people on the left and a lot of people on the right.
Ignorance, right? Aggressive ignorance.
It's not even ignorance at this point. It's stupidity. As much as I don't like to call people name, because you can't claim ignorance because people left, right, and center are talking about this, are just showing you the proof. People like me, I'm just showing you the proof. You can debate me all you want. It doesn't change the fact that it's true. I don't, like the guy in the video, I don't share conspiracy theories. I share stuff that has been proven to be true. And I'm just, listen, I told you this. Now here's the proof. But I like the way he approached it, just because he was very low, like he was very low key. Just, this is what it is. Let's deal with it. Let's figure it out. Do your own research. But I'm not ready to voice my opinion if I don't know.
Yeah,
which is, I think, because there's a difference. I'm just going to finish with this, because there's something I see all the time from guys that are conspiracy theorists, is that everything's a conspiracy. There's no fine line, right? It's either everything's a conspiracy. Exactly. And they even turn people like me off, because I'm like, hold on. Are people evil? Absolutely. Do people take advantage of bad situation? Absolutely. That doesn't mean they created the bad situation, because there's level of evil, right?
For me, Joe Rogan himself said, he says, I like to have fun with this, but at the end of the day, on a serious note, he said, I believe that the person who believes everything is true is every bit as dangerous as the person that believes none of it's true.
That's a great quote.
And he came from that foundation, because if you follow Joe Rogan like I do and Nico, you got to know this guy just likes to have fun. And you're not coming to him for the news. And if you come to him for the news, you're a stupid motherfucker, because he literally said, do not come to me for the news. He'd said that. So I find it bizarre that people are trying to hold him accountable when he said, don't come to him for the news, but they don't hold the people accountable that are saying, come to me for the news. Right. Ooh, so that's one thing. But getting back to what I was saying before, who stands the prophet? You're going to see a pattern of people who have a reputation that put they're willing to sacrifice their reputation, willing to sacrifice money-making opportunities to do the right thing. And I think those people deserve an opportunity to at least be listened to, right? Look, when you look at the people who have everything to lose and nothing to gain, for what they believe is the truth, they deserve to be listened to. And considering our climate the last 4 years, and I'm not going to YouTube. I mean, we can roll off names of people who were vilified 3 years ago, who are, wow, okay, that post aged well, and at some point we got to start calling them spoiler alerts. We can't call them conspiracy theories anymore. So, but I just wanted to say that Nico and I and Rob, sometimes I guess we like to have a little fun with this, but we should start and end by saying, as a foundation, the person that believes everything is true is every bit as dangerous as the one that believes none of it's true.
That's a great point. Could not agree more.
Couldn't agree more. On that note, guys, we're We're gonna
little
thank
bit
you
over?
for being here, Jason.
Let's
Yeah, but it's okay.
Let's footnote the Gaza thing for next week.
Yeah. We always go overboard when Jason's
We're
here.
gonna
Just-
go anywhere. That's been around since
No,
almost 100 years, so they can wait another week. You
Yeah.
agreed.
Even though
Yep.
the starving children can't. You
give
know?
him another week to solve it.
Yeah,
So,
Gregory
on
Hines.
that-
Gregory Hines. Sorry. Tap dancer.
On that note, guys,
Yeah.
if you like this, thank you for joining us. First and foremost, thank for being here. Make sure to comment. Make sure to let us know how you feel about what we're talking about. Maybe I'm full of shit. Maybe Rob's full of shit. Maybe Jason's full of shit. Let us know. Maybe you agree, you disagree. Let's have a conversation. We want to hear you in the comments. But on that note, if you like this show, make sure to follow at the Poly Orphans on X and on YouTube. Make sure to follow Rob_the Builder on X. Follow Real Nico Lagan on every single social media platform out there. And if you like Jason, you can follow him at NY Varsity Sports on YouTube. Anything else to add? Are we done?
This is the only thing I want to add.
Nobody cares. Work harder. That's right.
I agree. And on that note,
All right,
we'll see you
fellas.
tomorrow.
Great time. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Rob, love you.
I
Nico,
love you too, brother. We'll see you next week.